my channel. My name is Marc and I've been playing guitar for over 50 years. These days, I'm teaching music in Nashville, Tennessee. My approach is simple. I take things slow with easy to follow along instructions. So please subscribe and take this journey with me to learn this beautiful instrument, and let's get to it. All right, The Sound of Silence, you guys, by Jammin and Garfunkel. It's in the key of E flat minor, and typically, like in my demo, I had a capo up on the 6th fret, but I took it off because it's just going to be easier to explain a lot of details that is going on with this song, and I like to play it without the capo as well. So here we go. Let's talk about the chords. We have an A minor, we have a G, we have a C, and then we got 2 Fs. We have F1 and F2, and the voicings are going to be different. So instead of playing an F chord this way, you know, our bar chord, we're going to do what, and especially with you guys that have studied with me and we've talked about the cage system and different voicings that way? Well, we're basically going to do that. All right, what is that? The cage system. I just wanted to do a bonus lesson, just sneak in a little insight about the cage system, you guys. So here we go. What is the cage system? It's a method of mapping out your guitar's fretboard by visualizing the common open C, A, G, E, and D chord shapes up and down the guitar neck. And we could do this in any key. So working with the cage system, it's incredibly useful for unlocking the fretboard in the context like when we do lead guitar, doing melodies like what we're doing in our songs, and then for the chord voicing. And so I just want to take a second here to introduce the cage system to us. It's a great opportunity and a good intro to understand this system with the sound of silence. So here we go. Cage, C-A-G-E-D. And with these 5 chords, it creates different voicings and different note structures that we can work with our scales and with our chord voicings again. So what I want to do is I want to look at the cage system for the F chord voicing, because that's what we're going to use in the sound of silence. So a lot of us as beginners, we learn shapes. We learn shapes, and a lot of musicians look at guitar players like we don't know anything because we're just learning shapes and we play cowboy chords and we go forth and we don't really know music theory per se. But let's just talk about how does this cage system work and how do we figure out this stuff? Well, basically, we want to look at the 1, 3, and 5 notes that will create the chord. So for our F, let's look at that. The F is our first note is going to be the root or the F note. The third is going to be the A note, and the fifth is going to be the C note. And how we do that is like this. All we do is go F, and then G, A, there's our third, and then we're going to go B, C, and there's our fifth. So F, A, and C is going to, those 3 notes make up the F chord. So right away, let's just go to the C shape. And here we are doing the C shape chord, and I want to make an F chord out of the C shape. And so I'm going to go to the 5th fret and I'm going to bar it. I'm going to bar down that 5th fret and I'm going to do the C shape right here. Just like that. Okay? And what happens is our notes, I'm going to have an F note on the 5th string, an A note on the 4th string, the 3rd string that's on the bar is going to be the C note. We have another F note that I'm here on the 2nd string with my middle finger, and then we're going to have another A note. And so this is going to give us an F chord C shape. Okay? And then as we're going to go back into the lesson with Sound of Silence, we're going to use that for the F2 voicing. Okay, moving forward. Many of us, what's ironic is here I am talking about the F chord, and here we are doing the F chord like this. Okay? That's our open cowboy F chord that most of us learn. And then we graduate and we learn how to do it on the E shape F chord, okay? And the F chord's not even in the quote cage system, but this gives us a good opportunity to try to understand it. So if I have a buddy and I'm playing a song with the F chord, and he's playing down here with an open cowboy chord, I'm not going to play the same chord, the same voicing. I'm going to either do the E shape, or I'm going to go up here and do the 8th fret all the way up to the 8th fret and do a A shape and do this F chord. Okay? And so that leading us on to the second chord of the cage, C, A, is that A shape. There's our A shape cowboy chord, and I'm going to find my notes to do the F chord, which is going to be the 8th fret, and then basically on the 10th fret is where my fingers are going to go, and on the 4th string is the C, the 3rd is going to be the F, and then the 2nd string is going to be the A. And it all creates here, notice on my, when I do my A shape, I'm going to focus on the 5th string is for my root note, and that's the F. That gives me my F. All right, so C, A, now the G chord, and most of us don't even play the G chord because it's a difficult chord to get into. And for our F, I'm going to do the G shape, just like that. We do that all the time, you guys. But I got to go all the way up to the 10th fret to bar, and I'm going to do the G shape with my other fingers like this. Okay? And it's a very difficult chord. If you want to try to get into that chord, it's not really user friendly, but it's super cool to do voicings. Now, most of us, and guys that play guitar all the time, they're going to do these voicings, and it doesn't mean I have to go up here really high and put my ring finger and my middle finger up here to do that G chord. I'm going to do the G chord shape, and most times I'm just going to go down to the 4th string here and bar it, because that's going to give me my C right here. I'm going to go to the 3rd string, and that's going to give me my F on my 3rd string. The 2nd string is going to be the A, and then I'm going to hit this high F. And that gives me that F bar chord, but we're going to consider it into the G shape. I'm just not playing the way up high because it's very difficult. But I play that all the time to get that F in the G shape. All right, moving on. Typically, the next chord is the E shape for cage, and we learn that right away typically as beginner guitar players. We learn how to do the E shape, and our F is on our 6th string, that's our root note, and we have our 1st, 3rd, and 5th notes in this kind of bar chord, the F, A, and C. Okay, and if we're going to do the G, we would just go to the G note on the 6th string. Okay, so there's our F with the E shape. Now, coming to the end, the D shape. And the D shape, I love it, and you'll hear me talk about how I hate Paul Simon. I really don't hate Paul Simon. I really like Paul Simon. He just really challenged me when I was younger to play this D-shaped chord in quarterchrome. And it was an E shape doing an E. And when he did the song, he created that voicing that we can do with the cage system, and you can't start quarterchrome with the cowboy E chord. So he wanted to go up to a higher voicing, so what he did is he did this D chord with the E note on the 2nd string right there. So there's your E, okay, but we're playing a D shape, playing an E chord, and then on top of that, he was like, wait, on the 4th string, there's our D note, and then here's our E flat. There we go with our E, so he's going to hold down this E note for the bass on the 4th string and do this D chord. And when I first learned that, it was very difficult. And as well as if this is all new to you, it's like this is very difficult to do this chord, to hold down that stretch. But it gives us that chord voicing, and it's something we're going to do with our Sound of Silence song, and we're going to call that the F1. So with that, here we are on the E note. I'm just going to go up a half step to the F on the sixth fret and play that D shape to do the F chord. Okay, because here with this D, it's going to give me the A note on the first string, the F note on the sixth string, or the sixth fret, second string, and it's going to give me the C note on the third string, and then I want to go to that F note on the fourth string. So here I'm going to go like this to create the F chord in the D shape. And that gives us the cage. When everybody's talking about the cage, that's the cage. And then we just created the 5 chords with F plus the cowboy chord, doing that. Now, focusing on the F1 in our song, I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to bar the third shape, or the third fret, and instead of doing the D chord with the F note, I'm going to hit the F note right here on the bass, and I'm going to hold down my 2 fingers here on the third and first string to go into that F1, as we'll see. And then F2, I'm going to just slide up, and I'm going to go to the 5th fret, which is going to be our C shape F for F2, which I'm going to just go into this shape and with F2, and notice I'm going to play the C on the first string. The F is going to be my second finger. I'm going to play the C note on the third with the bar, and I'm going to play that A, this A note right here, which will give me the F, it will give me the A, and it'll give me the C kind of thing. And so that's going to be F2. Here's F1 and F2. And then I'm going to go down to the B note on our song and to create the melody. All right, so hopefully this gives us a little more understanding about the cage system. I just wanted to sneak that in with you guys to get that introduction of what's the cage system and how do I work with that. This is a good opportunity to give some understanding about why is this an F1, why is this an F2. I'm calling F1 the D shape in the cage system, and F2 I'm calling the C shape for the F chord. All right, let's get back to the lesson. Okay, now I have tab and tablature to follow along, and you could download it for free, and it's probably going to be a great idea. So let's get right into the introduction, the intro of the song. So here we're just going to go right into the A minor, okay? And I'm going to take my first finger off, and so I'm only going to play the third, second, and first string. And so our first notes are going to be the third string, first string, and then second string. So I'm holding the A minor, having my first finger off, going like this. So third string, first string, second string, first string. Okay, and then we continue that pattern. And so what we're playing is these 8 notes, and it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So after we play the first 2 measures, we're going to put our first finger back down to make that A minor and do a brush. Okay, so let's do that again. Okay, so in measure 3, this is where Paul and Garfunkel are going to start singing. But I'm going to hit the third string with my thumb, the second string with my first finger, and then middle finger on the first string, and then come back up with the second string. Okay, so now on measure 4, we're going to go into this G chord. Okay, and we have 2 measures, measure 4 and 5. And what I usually do, because we're in 4/4 time, I'm going to go like this. Go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and on the demo I do that too. And we're just trying to keep it light and misty. And so I'm not doing a lot. I'm just trying to just go nice and easy. And I'm doing harmonics. So I'm going to go 1 and 2. And so I'm doing the G chord. I'm going to hit the 6th string. And then I'm going to go 3rd. And then I'm going to hit the 2nd and 1st string as a double stop. Okay, so all together with the 4th and 5th measure, I'm going to go. I'm going to start on measure 4, Hello Darkness. Then measure 9. And we're going to go back to that F. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Okay, and that's when we're going to do the walk up on measure 13. And we're going to go, and let's just do this. Measure 12 and 13 and 14. And if anything, I remember having to practice this part of the song. Here I go. Okay, so again, measure 12 and 13. We're going to, it's 4/4 on each F. F1 4 times, F2 4 times. Okay, now on measure 14, when we get to the C, we're just going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and we're going to do, I like to call that a cat meow. Basically, we're doing the 3rd fret to the 5th fret. Okay, and we jump back into the C on measure 15. And we're going to do the C 3 times. Or 3 counts, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and notice that A minor. That A minor only gets 1 beat, or 2 eighth notes. So 15, we're going to go on measure 15, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and back to C, and measure 16, and again it's a 2/4. So this takes a little bit of time, but if you play it after a while, you play with Simon and Garfunkel with the song, all of a sudden you're going to feel it. So after 15, we're going to split the C and A minor, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and then jump right into that G on measure 17, and we're going to do 4 counts, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and to A minor on the 18th, 2 and 3 and 4 and this is on measure 19. This is where we're coming to our 2nd verse. And restless dreams, I walk alone, narrow streets of cobblestones. So here we go. after 17 and 18, G and A minor to wrap up that first part. And then going into 19, we're doing the A minor and 2 and 3 and 4 and G. And now remember when we started the G? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and. Remember we're doing that? Now at this, when I start the second verse and measure 19 going into 20, this is where on the demo the drums start coming in, and this is where I start doing a lot of hammer-ons. So I just want to show you guys what I'm doing. I'm just playing on the G chord, and I'm playing and I'm hammering on the second fret, just going. So on the 5th, 4th, and 3rd string. So all together, I'm going to put my finger pick on because it'll accent a little better. Okay, because we're playing those G twice, and measure 19th and 20. I'm sorry, measure 20 and 21. So I do a lot of those hammer-ons, and then going to measure 22 on cobblestone. And I'll just do that A minor. I do a lot of with my pinky, I'm going to go on 3rd fret on the 2nd string, down to the 1st fret, 2nd string, and then open. And back on the chord, okay? So doing that, and then we're going to go into measure 23. We're going to split that A minor and C, okay? Back to C, measure 25. Now notice on 26, we're going to do a time change again on 2/4. On 27, coming to 28. Now 28 is going to be 4 times that F1 to F2. Okay. And then I do the cat meow. And notice we're going to do the C 3 times and the A minor only 1 time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. And then measure 32, we have that 2 count again, that 2/4. 1 and 2 to go to that G to wrap us up, come into a wrap up. A minor. And then we're going to do 35, measure 35. And we go into verse 3, 4, and 5. So we just keep repeating it. And basically, verses 3, 4, and 5 are basically the same thing. So I'm just going to play it really slow. And let's just try to follow along with it. And I'm just going to really slow it down. So here we go. it continues. And it does that basically 5 full verses of it, you guys. So hopefully that was slow enough for you guys to start putting in your fills and this is a beautiful song. It does take a little bit of time. So hopefully just with what I've shown you, hopefully get you on the bandwagon to get the Sound of Silence under your belt and playing out. All right, keep it jamming, and I'll catch you on the next one.